So I lead a hyperlocal newsroom in Harvey, Illinois, which is in Chicago, south suburbs. We're the only shop in town serving a community where a third of the people live at or below the poverty line and did not have any type of local news access for 30 to 40 years. And so in communities like Harvey, when you look at organizations like the Harvey World Herald, when you look at organizations like HF Chronicle or Lansing Journal, these newsrooms, these tiny publishers in these suburban communities that buck the idealism that we associate with suburban life. And even more so in rural America, these tiny publishers are usually extremely short staffed. They are highly ambitious. They are very tapped into their communities and responsive to community needs, but they don't have the types of dollars they need. And if you look at this story about local newspapers in America continually going under, that is a suburban America, rural America narrative in most cases. But those are the tiny publishers, those are the communities that don't get the dollars to actually, help their work. So if I was leading, if I had $500 million, for me, I'm looking out for tiny publishers in suburban and rural America, those 1, 2 people teams who, they're put together hanging on by a thread of, in some cases, volunteers, retirees, and maybe a part-time staffer. So those are the newsrooms I would be looking out for if I were leading Press Forward. I think funders tend to co-opt this language of community needs, but we really do need to be listening to people on the ground, residents who are in need of hyperlocal local journalism to guide the types of investments that we're making, in addition to what newsrooms and publishers are saying. So for instance, earlier this year, our organization was invited to submit a grant for project dollars, which are really great. But really what's going to get, our organization further, comparable organizations further, are general operating dollars. If we look at people in these communities, they're asking for, journalism that is responsive, journalism that is, not racist, journalism that is a yes and, right? So in Harvey, for instance, we have been welcomed by the community, our digital operation, but we've also had people across age, 20 somethings, 30 somethings, up until the 60s and 70s, where people are saying they also want a print newspaper. And these are sometimes the things that funders don't actually want to now more than ever put money behind. We see like this slant toward digital media, but we really just need to be prioritizing what communities are saying that they want. And in some cases, even though papers are dying out, which I think is more a testament to industry trends than it is community needs. If you look at communities like that, sometimes they want those very things that we think are archaic and of no longer of any type of value. So we need to be leaning into community needs, and we need to be leaning into what publishers are saying that they need in order to thrive and serve the public. There are, and I've sort of said this in previous spaces, there are Harveys all over America. There are these communities that are, they are sorely disaffected by capital J journalism, which is very profit driven. It is not people driven the way that lowercase j journalism is. And there are newsrooms like the Harvey World Herald all over America where they have this sort of, you know, I don't want to use the word hero, but if you will, a hero origin story of great sacrifices being made for people to jumpstart these hyper local organizations in the communities that need them most. And they often are barely holding above water. We need to be moving the needle on getting organizations up, getting them running, and making sure they're able to grow. So what you oftentimes see in the sort of incubator space of journalism, if you will, there are many programs that will help an organization get up and off the ground, right? Startup incubators and things of that nature. And then there's not a lot being done, however, to actually allow you to grow, develop your business model, become operationally resilient, become financially sustainable. That's a real key. And so we have so many tiny publishers across the area, across the country, that are just barely holding on, right? They've been up and running for 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know, up to many years, and they haven't really been able to grow and, grow like their operational capacity. And, it's not because the funding isn't there. It's because that funders just don't want to actually put the money into, growth, right? In order for those publishers to be able to scale and really do the reporting that they want to do. It's innately hard to do the type of journalism that these people in these communities, those especially pushed to the margins, want us to do when we don't have the dollars to be able to grow, bring on full-time staffers, fill executive leadership positions, and develop, a business arm in addition to the editorial arm to be able to serve the public. So we really need to be, in terms of an impact, we need to be very intentional about growth, and that just not being, taking some freelancers and making them part-timers. No, I really mean building out executive leadership and being able to marry business development and revenue with the editorial production. I love this question. So I always say a few things, that the future of news is collaborative. I think that we are now seeing an energy toward not, newsrooms not, seeing each other as adversaries, but rather as a partner in public service and trying to really serve residents nationwide. I think that the future of news is not only collaborative, but it's also malleable. I think that we need to actually be more open to experimentation in how we build products and get information to people. I know, in Kansas City Defender, Ryan Sorrell, their entire team, which is really doing a great job of building a niche of serving Black, Gen Z, and millennials. They were social media first, if I'm not mistaken, and really built their inroads there. I think Outlier Media in Detroit started off as an SMS text service, right? If I'm not mistaken, during COVID-19, it was really built out of serving those needs. So I think we need to be open to really experimenting. I know the old guard does not like social media, doesn't like the TikTok or the Instagram, but we really just need to be figuring out how to meet people where they are at. And that's going to take a lot of abandoning many of, the ways of knowing that we just, we stick to. We need to be much more open. Lastly, I'll also say that the future of news, it sees the community as a partner in building, in rebuilding infrastructure and reimagining infrastructure, as opposed to an other. I think increasingly we are going to feel this need for civic journalism, especially in these communities where we have to really think outside the box about how to reach people in the face of the digital divide, in the face of distrust, and just trying to figure out how to actually repair harm, acknowledge and repair harm, and apply accountability proxies to the work that we do. We're going to have to actually lean more into seeing the public we serve as a partner in building local news, as opposed to an other.